boosting domestic demand. And Chinese authorities say that is now their #1 task in efforts to limit impact from global economic turmoil. Analysts and government officials have long urged a shift to this position. Gui Xiaozheng reports on a State Council press conference where this plan was announced.
Vice Minister Mu Hong of the National Development and Reform Commission says the central government has adhered to a flexible and prudent macroeconomic policy amid dramatic changes in the economic situation. Since the third quarter, because of the global financial crisis, China has implemented a series of measures to prevent declining growth and strong fluctuations in economic conditions. The State Council decided to apply proactive fiscal policy, a moderately easy monetary policy, and other policies to maintain exports. They also sought to increase investments and make wide-ranging efforts to boost domestic demand. A stimulus package estimated at 4 trillion yuan, or some $580 billion will be spent over the next 2 years to finance programs in 10 major areas. These areas include low-income housing, rural infrastructure, water, electricity, transportation, environmental protection, technological innovation, and post-disaster reconstruction. The policies also include a reduction in taxes, which could cut industry costs by 120 billion yuan.
The 10 programs that the central government introduced are a series of means with very clear focus and direction. It covers both the short and long run. It will facilitate economic growth while pushing forward restructuring and adjustments of the development mode. It will increase investment while driving up consumption. It's of great significance in maintaining economic momentum while reform in major industries.
Vice Governor Yi Gang of the People's Bank of China spoke about financial liquidity. He says China's bank loans have risen as credit controls loosen. The PBOC decided to remove restrictions on bank credit to ensure steady and fast economic growth. Commercial banks' credit ceiling will also be abolished to allow for more lending to priority projects, such as those in rural areas, small enterprises, and technology. The easier loans will also help industrial growth through mergers and acquisition. When asked to give an outlook for the future, officials say the source of recent global financial crisis comes from abroad, therefore will have a limited impact on China's financial system. Economic development within the country is still healthy, although the growth rate is slowing. China has a relatively complete export chain, and many enterprises in certain industries are still highly competitive internationally. The strong fundamentals will ensure adequate time for domestic policy adjustments to revitalize the economy. Gui Xiaozheng, CCTV.
Meanwhile, despite a slowdown in the world economy, it seems Chinese consumers are still very confident indeed. The latest AC Nielsen survey shows that more than 70% of Chinese consumers do not think their economy is facing a potential recession. Zhang Yaqing has more on this.
The Nielsen data confirms stable Chinese consumer confidence in the past 2.5 years. The Consumer Confidence Index for the second half of this year has increased to 96, 12 more than the global average. Nearly 60% of Chinese interviewees showed optimism in their financial condition in the coming year. AC Nielsen also surveyed the consumer's financial plan for a volatile economy. Almost 60% of the consumers said they will put their spare money into savings, while 40% plan to invest in stocks, bonds, and funds. More than one-third of the interviewees plan on spending some in the coming year, mostly for traveling. The Nielsen data shows a more optimistic attitude in consumers of developing countries than those of developed ones. India, Brazil, Russia, and China are all on the global top 10 most optimistic list. Nielsen Global Consumer Confidence Index surveyed markets in 52 countries and regions. The index has declined to 84, the lowest since the survey started 3 years ago. 43 countries and regions saw a decline of their index, with the Republic of Korea and Japan suffering the most. Zhang Yaqing, CCTV.
The Vice Minister of China's top economic planner says only Chinese companies are allowed to become major shareholders in the processing industries for soybean and rapeseed oil. Zhang Xiaoqiang says the inflow of foreign capital has meant the introduction of modern techniques and managerial experience, while also helping to promote healthy competition. Zhang Xiaoqiang also stressed the need to ensure reliable supplies and steady prices of edible oil, saying the government is still reviewing this situation. Now, one area of special focus in the recent 4 trillion yuan stimulus package is housing projects for low-income residents in urban areas. Officials say building of more than 400,000 low-rent housing units is expected to start before the end of this year. Around 1.2 million such units are already under construction as of November this year. Estimates suggest that the first 3 quarters of the year saw 32,000 low-rent buildings being completed, while 85,000 low-priced residential buildings were built also in the same period. 18 billion yuan has been invested, and it said new housing initiatives will receive a budget of 900 billion yuan over 3 years, also generating about 3 million jobs in that process.
We have a plan, and the plan is to supply more than 2 million low-price housing and 4 million low-rent residences in the next 3 years, as well as the reconstruction of temporary housing in areas of forestry, agriculture and mining.
Let's move on to some other news. The market for second-hand housing is finally seeing a very slight rebound after new policies were announced late last month to boost China's real estate sector. But experts say these rises are far from significant and much more is needed on the policy front. Yang Fei with the details.
According to the figures posted on the website of Beijing Real Estate Transaction, the number of transactions of second-hand housing rose to 1,188 during the first week of November, up 138% from the first 7 days of October.
Tax and fees were reduced, interest rates for loans as well as down payments have all been cut. So we think the time is now right to go ahead and buy a property.
In the week following the launch of new policies, the number of clients turning up increased 50%.
It is clear that the new policies have given a boost to consumer confidence. However, several major real estate agencies say the second-hand property market has yet to rebound significantly. Recent rises in the transaction numbers come from more transfers of ownership in the week after the new policies were announced.
Between October 22nd and November the 1st, there were many transfers of property ownership. These had been postponed due to the announcement of the new policies. But the number of new transactions did not actually increase significantly.
Industry experts say continuous rate cuts by the central bank and a lower down payment rate are sending a positive message to the housing market. But a true rebound could need even more stimulating policies. Yang Fei, CCTV.
U.S.